Hello to people listening to this podcast. Hello again. Welcome. As you can see, it's going to be a professional podcast. We are here to discuss retro gaming in its whole, but you asked the question, how did we all meet?
I think really we should talk because PlayStationCollecting.com website, which has literally just disappeared, is where we all met. Probably what, 7 years ago now?
It was 2013.
Was it? Bloody hell, so 7 years.
Yeah.
Wow. None of us have aged.
Nope. I think we did quite good. We've held up quite well.
Yeah,
I remember Paul put a post on PSC about me finding my £10 Ocean Commander.
That's right, yeah. So you were already in... He came across. He was... you were out in Retro
Collect,
Gamer.
yeah.
Retro Collect, yeah. You were on the dark side. And I saw your post. I was like, this cunt over at Retro Collect found a £10 Ocean Commander, full UK. £10.
Yeah, that was literally about 3 days after I paid £200 for one.
Wow.
Yeah, I found one. It popped up on eBay, and I talked the guy into pulling it off eBay and selling it private, so I could get it for minus the eBay fee. So he sold it me a tenner cheaper. But as it ended up, it screwed me over because I paid him in pounds and the conversion charge to dollars, because he was in America but had an English copy of the game. And the conversion charge meant that I ended up paying more than I would have if I'd have just paid it on eBay. You only buy about £3. But yeah. And then a couple of days later, Ben pops up with his £10 one.
It was a weird time, wasn't it? Because we didn't know, like, you'd pay £200, you wouldn't know, is that the only copy? Like, no one knew at the time. But there could have been one or two or three copies.
About 5 or 6 known out there. Everyone on Retro Collect, basically, who had one. That's the only people I knew who had one.
I mean, it's still a rare game, isn't it, the English copy? But it's still, quite a few have still come out now.
Oh, yeah. I'd still say it's valued at around £200.
Yeah.
And then I found a second sealed one from Mania, I want to say.
What did you have to do? Give them a reach around and you got it?
Oh, yeah.
That was it. You sent them some dirty pics.
And
it arrived a week later.
I sold my unsealed copy to Carl, if you remember Carl.
Yes, I remember Carl. He's still in the PS2 group chat, I think. Or probably start. I can't remember what happened in that group chat.
Don't ever talk.
Cole Liver.
Yeah, Carl Liver, yeah.
Yeah, so. But yeah, well, I suppose I should explain really, because PlayStation Collecting, not many people really knew about it, did they? But it was the most definitive place for PlayStation information, wasn't it? And that's basically where we all met. I mean, I found it searching for Phoenix Games stuff, and Paul, you were already there, and knew a bit already, and was it Crash? He knew a bit about them, and then obviously Zed, who's Dr. Retro on YouTube, he's pretty much left the gaming scene now, hasn't he? He's like practicing to become a doctor or something like that.
Yeah, I think he's qualified as a doctor. I think he's
basically just like, I think he still plays games and stuff, but he's not like hardcore anymore. But yeah, I basically signed up to PlayStation Collecting looking for Phoenix Games information, and then shortly followed later joining up. You were already there, Paul, weren't you? I don't know how long you'd already been on the site.
I don't think it was long before you joined. I can't remember. I joined in 2013. So I always remember you used to say the year you joined under your name. So you always look if you're a newbie.
That stuff now, because basically the website closed down a few months ago. After, I mean, the past couple of years, it's been quite rocky there anyway, hasn't it? It's
it's always tagged onto Nintendo Age, isn't it?
Yeah. So basically, they've sold up. But basically, the way the website was created, you can't go back and look at any of the pages on the Wayback Machine on the web archive. because if you click a link, it just shows you a blank page because of how everything was pulled and the use of like JavaScript and stuff like that. So like nothing, there's absolutely nothing unless like you can get a link in Google Cache and it will show you the first paragraph. But that's basically all you're left with is the first paragraph of everything, if there's anything. So it's a shame that there's just so much information that was on the website. It's just now just gone.
That's crazy.
Probably gone. And I wonder who actually brought the site because it's just gone, hasn't it? And the same thing.
It's like they just deleted it.
Around the same sort of times when Retro Collect sort of went as well. Because that's still there, and I mean that's not. And I'm follow a couple of people who linked to it on Twitter, and every now and again I look on the page and there's loads of people asking questions. When's it coming back? When's it coming back? And they never answer anything. But a couple of days ago, one of the guys put out, and he was like, "Everyone stop asking me questions about fucking Retro Collect."
Oh, really?
And it was like a bit weird, but he's still got in his bio like that is one of the owners of Retro Collect. So it was like, that's a bit weird, you know. It's like you don't want to answer anything.
You wouldn't say that if it was coming back, would you?
But I looked at their financial accounts, and basically they've got nothing. They've got no money or anything. So it's like it looks like a case. It looks like last year and the year before they would an auditing company took over, so they were doing the finances and stuff. And then it was passed back to them last September or something like that. And since then, they've basically just closed or something.
It might have already gone into administration a year ago, and then they restructured, and that's just speculation. But this could be it's weird. You wouldn't say things like that on your Twitter feed, would you, if it was coming back?
It would also be a shame if that disappeared as well, because even though the lists on there were not complete for a completionist to go by, but you know it was the most popular lists website out there, wasn't it, to track your game? It was the most popular one out there, so you know it would be a shame. I mean, I didn't use the site, to be honest. I did at one point, but then I just thought, what's the point in this? So I stopped using it, but it was the most popular one.
Was that after you got in many an argument, Al?
What's that? An argument?
Yeah, you got in quite a few arguments on Retro.
I always joined L as well. If he got an argument, I'd always join L's side.
I stopped using it because it was just like freaking out. I'd go on there and I'd see somebody posting something about the rarest game in the world and how it's worth £5 million. And it's like the typical Simpson skateboarding, you know what I mean? It's like there's millions out there, but you keep telling everyone it's rare and the people start believing it.
I reckon we've added like at least 50p to the price of Simpson skateboarding in the world. The amount of times one of us has said it's the rarest game ever.
Yeah, man.
But I have a rare game in my hands right now.
Oh well, come on, it's show and tell time.
Well, I want you to take guesses which one it could be. It's a Phoenix game.
Is it your rarest game?
Oh, well, there's 102 to choose from.
It's not my rarest game. It's one that is quite rare in the UKV.
102 Dalmatians, the unreleased sequel.
What did you say, Al?
Wacky Zoo.
Indeed.
Oh, nice.
And do you remember the guy on YouTube?
On YouTube, yeah. It'll be worth £300, I reckon.
Oh yeah, I saw that video.
Yeah, because me and Ben was well, we weren't certain there wasn't a UKV, but we couldn't find any history of one, so we were like, we don't think it exists. Then all of a sudden, that guy pops up with one on YouTube, didn't he? And he was like, oh, and he was referring to things that we'd all posted around PlayStation collecting and on YouTube and stuff. And he was going, oh, you know, this one must be worth 300 quid because it's the only UKV in the world. And then like Ben found one, and then I found one. I asked him if he'd want to sell it, like just for the fact that I wanted all the UKV.
Yeah.
And, he was trying to raise the price, and it was like, nah, mate. It was like,
and then mine from Sweden for around about a tenner, I think.
I think I paid, I can't remember how much I paid for mine. I think it was about 30 quid I paid for mine.
So for lots of those early Phoenix games, Europe was the giver of good prices, wasn't it? 'Cause you went to Greece, Sweden, Norway, all those places, Poland. We got loads of UK, proper UK edition Phoenix games for cheap.
Yeah.
As I say, my whole Phoenix collection.
This was in 2014,
Yes,
probably now.
I think the whole collection.
Yeah, even towards the end of 2014 and 2015, you could still get decent price games.
Yeah,
and then
it's weird though. Don't you find it weird? Don't you find it weird that it happened with PlayStation 2 first? Because Phoenix released games for the PS1 at the same time, but the PlayStation 2 prices rocketed, and it was only in the last 5 years we started seeing PS1 games really go through the roof.
Yeah.
Phoenix, and probably not as rare. Or
I think that was more so to do with people just trying to jump on the bandwagon, and they created the PS1 market because there's shitloads of the PS1 games, and the games that they made rare on the PS1 are not rare at all.
So like Hercules.
Well, I don't know. I think there's one rare game.
Son of the Lion King, was that one?
I'll sit on PSCG, PlayStation Collectors Group on Facebook. They did an auction on there for one, an unsealed copy of Hercules, and it sold for 500 quid. And the very next morning, I woke up at about 6 in the morning, looked on Amazon, just thought, typed in Hercules, and there was one on there for 3 quid, sealed. And I brought it thinking, this ain't coming, this is never coming. About 2 or 3 days later, come through the post, sealed copy, Hercules, 3 quid posted. Thank you very much. I had great pleasure in posting that on PSCG.
Yeah. You remember, it was Boxing Day, I want to say 2014, and we were talking, because it was quite late at night, and I said, what if I found a monster's egg, yeah? And then I found one. That was quite hilarious.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
That was the 50 quid monster egg.
Yes, but I remember talking to you on Facebook, I can't remember who it was, like 2 months beforehand, 3 months beforehand, and I said, I think I've got monster eggs, and you were like, well, it's not a real game. I was like, what? And you were like, it was not an official release. You got in a massive mood. I finally found it. And it was Hydrox from Retro Collect. I messaged him, and he didn't get back to me, and I was on a bus with a load of bingo customers going somewhere, and I was trying to entertain all these bingo customers, and my email came through, and it was from Hydrox. I was like, fuck, he's finally got back to me. He's like, yeah, I've got one. I'll sell it to you if you want. What's your sort of price you're asking for? And the customers were talking to me. I was like, oh, shut up, customers. I need to get back to this email. And I phoned my wife up, and I said, I'm just going to buy a game. I'm going to offer £200, but it's monster eggs. And because I've spoken about it so much, she was like, oh, yeah, all right, that's fine. So I emailed Hydrox, and he got back to me straight away and said, yep, no probs. And I told you, and you were like, no real game. But in the end, you came around.
There wasn't any evidence of it at the time.
Well, I spotted on a Dr. Retro video. Does a video of a tour of his room from a few years ago, and he pans around the room, and he goes across a shelf of PS2 games, and on there was Monster Eggs. Now, after it all blew up about Monster Eggs, and everyone had got a copy, I was talking to Zed on PlayStation Collecting, Dr. Retro. I was talking to him. His name was Zed on there, wasn't it? And I was talking to him, and I said, how long have you had your copy? And he was like, I ain't got one. And I was like, you have? And I told him about the video, and he went back and he messaged me back. He was like, I never even knew I had it. Like,
I spoke to him. He didn't realise.
Completely, just they even know. You know what I mean? I was like, man, yeah, I spotted it, but I found my first copy on Amazon Italy. And,
Amazon IT, yeah.
I brought it on there, and it come, and then the person put up another copy, and I brought it and messaged, because at the time I was buying a couple of games from oh god, what's his name?
Crash.
Who do we used to buy all the games off? Who had all the games on PlayStation? Crash, yes. I just brought a couple of games off him, and I was talking to him about Monster Eggs for ages. And then I told him I've got one, and said I could get another one. So I was like, because I was friends with him, I was like, oh, I'll get it, and you can have it. And then the person put another copy up. So I brought that. Remember, Paul, I said to you.
Yeah, I remember, yeah.
And Crashy's come, I sent it, and then I got an email off the dude saying, oh, I can't find the other copy. So it was like, shit. Now I've got to let you down. And I wish, really, because Crash was a friend, but like only a sales friend. I brought stuff off him, you know what I mean? It's like, the more I talked to him, the more I thought, is he just trying to find out games he wants to sell to me, find out what I'm interested to sell to me, whereas with you, it's more of like a proper friendship. So it's like, I wish I'd have had the email before I'd have sent it, Crash, because I'd have just sent it you and told him that.
It was crazy though, that at that time, so 2014, 15, that was the rarest game we could think of, wasn't it? Monster Eggs.
Yeah. There was like
one or two who we knew we'd seen.
5 people.
5 people with the game.
Yeah, that said they'd got Monster Eggs, but there was no pictures of it.
No.
And I became the 6th person.
And Hydrox had one, and that's the one I bought.
Yeah, well, he listed. He had one. On Retro Collector was listed as having.
Yeah, I took his copy.
Yeah. In fact, yours is the one I took the ISO from, and that's the only ISO version of the game known out there, unless somebody else has opened up a copy and done the ROM.
Cool.
But as far as I'm aware, that you still can't download that game anywhere.
Because I think, because at the time it was silly rare, and mine was Hydrox opened all his games up to take photos of them.
Yeah, well,
mine was open.
He opened it up because he documented the information on Redom. And what they do is they take the information directly from the disk. So it takes like the header code and stuff like that from the disk. So obviously they have to put the disk in, and then it reads the header, and then that gets uploaded. I don't know if you know what Redom is. It's basically a website that just lists the info for every single disc out there, every CD. Mainly to do with games, but they do everything. So basically, if it's listed on there, it exists because all the information is taken from the physical form. So it's like, it's just perfect. And on the disc, it tells you when the disc was made and created, and stuff like that, and all the DHA code and stuff like that. So it's like, if you want to know if a game actually came out and it's listed on there, it's proof that it came out live.
I guess you've checked like Marble Chaos and stuff on there.
Well, that's not on there now.
There's one game that we've never been able to find a pure UKV of, and that's Sim Chemist.
Skateboard. Oh, sorry. What?
Sim Chemist.
No, Sim Chemist doesn't have UKV, does it?
No, it doesn't. At least I've never found one.
No, it does. I'm pretty sure I've got a barcode for it. Or I might even
I've seen a barcode for it, but I've never actually found a physical copy of it.
Yeah, I think I've got a multi version of it.
Yeah, I've got my version of it. UK and French, I believe.
What's that? Sorry.
UK and French, I believe.
Yeah, I think you're right there. Yeah.
But I've never seen a pure UKV of it.
Yeah, I think you might be right there. That's the one that Sim Chemist is the one where it's called Chemist Tycoon on the disc, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right.
The other way round.
Yeah.
Paul goes and pulls one out the shelf.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to find out the story behind that, because I would have thought it was like a licensing agreement or something that went wrong, but then it still doesn't say why the disc says something different to the cover.
No.
I'll get it up on the screen, so I'm going to edit the video afterwards and put all necessary things in, so I'll get a screen cap of it, unless Paul's going to grab one, and then we'll see it on the screen.
I can also look for mine, if I can find it.
I'll say all my games are in the other room, so I'm not going to go into there, especially seeing as though everybody else has run off and it's just me.
So, what did we find out about Sim Chemist?
Yeah, so you didn't find Sim Chemist?
No, can't seem to find it, but do you remember when I found that Camelot game and I sold one to Punisher?
Yeah.
For like a tenner?
Yeah,
and he flipped it.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
don't know Punisher on this podcast.
109 quid.
He was a guy.
shit.
So in the 2013, 14, 15, we were all in PlayStation collecting and like talking to each other and sharing stories about
Information.
rare games and stuff and what we think's rare. And Punisher was someone who joined and came part of our circle, and we would chat with him. What we didn't realize he was doing is and he was part of Retro Collect as well. He was getting finding out what all the rare games were. Because if we found a rare game, we'd sell it to each other for like really cheap price, like cost price. But what he was doing,
price basically,
he was picking the rare games up off of the site, finding out what was rare, buying it up, buying any he could get off of us, and then selling them on eBay for like £100-200. And yeah, we weren't happy.
No.
James was his name. James.
I can't think of his actual name now. Just Punisher, that was it. And every time he got in trouble, he'd message private message and he'd be like, "Oh man, why do you come out? I'll buy you a pint." And he was always, "I'll buy you a pint for it." Like,
yeah. I think he lived in Southampton, didn't he, or Bournemouth,
Yeah.
or
Bournemouth.
Portsmouth. Was it Bournemouth?
Bournemouth. Yeah, Bournemouth. Oh God, what was his name? Because I actually had his his phone number and everything, because we used to be quite good friends until he stabbed me in the back. Oh, what was his name? Joe.
Joe.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, Joe.
There you go.
Do you remember that other guy as well who couldn't work out where he was from? He was like from southern France or something, on the borderlines of like some I don't know where, But
You mean the guy who sold us both of our
sorry.
constructors?
That's it, yes. Hang on, I've just had a message come on my screen. Some weird message then. Yeah, the guy who sold us both Urban Constructor. Oh, Ben, you've gone. Where have you gone?
Yeah, but no, I'll be back. Just 1 second.
Okay. Shall I still talk or?
I'm back now, hopefully.
Well, your screen's still off.
Is it?
Yeah.
No.
No, that's it. Yeah, I'm back.
There you go. Cool.
Yeah, the guy who sold us both Urban Constructor, he was like, where was he? He was saying he was from somewhere, but then...
Yeah, he said he was from France. Yeah, it was getting posted from like somewhere near Madrid or something.
Yeah, that's it, yeah. And then there was some other country that was involved with it as well. He
also had some connection to Italy or something.
Yeah, that was it. It was really weird, wasn't it? Yeah.
It was like, what the hell? I mean, I get he wants to have privacy, but like, it's like a triangle of countries.
Yeah, but he was also trying to play us off all the time, because I mean, you talked him into buying that one off eBay, and then he kept emailing me.
Oh, he's emailing me as well and saying, "I've got another buyer interested. This is my final offer. Take it or leave it."
Yeah, that's what he kept doing to me. And then in the end, I just said, "Look, I'll pay this, and you can take it or leave it." And he sold
so then I got it, and then I managed to get you another copy because you were a bit pissed off at that point.
I was a bit upset.
Yeah, but then I managed to get you another copy, so it's all good.
But you know what ended up happening? I found a suppliers with a fucking box full of them. And I brought the lot.
Were you able to get them?
What's that?
Were you able to get the box, or was it one of the ones that say they couldn't find it in the end?
No, they couldn't find more. They sold me 7 of them. Come in a box. There was only like.
Yeah, but were those 7 Italian or were they UK's?
Oh no, they were Italian ones. Sorry, they weren't UK ones. They were Italian ones.
I've only ever seen R2 of the UK Urbans.
Yeah, was that mine and yours?
Yeah, I've not seen any since. Whether or not more's popped up or not, I don't know.
No, I don't think I have.
Urban
Constructor.
Full UK.
Yeah.
I've not seen any since mine and Earl's.
No, I don't think I have. But yeah, I ended up. They sent me the 7 and then said we've got more in storage. But then they couldn't find them, and they said we'll follow up. but then I never heard another response off them. Oh, actually, no, we'd made a deal to buy some other games, and because they accept PayPal, I asked them if I could just do it because the first transaction I did with bank, and I said it's just
always risky doing that.
Well, that's the thing. But I mean, that was an official business, like a wholesale stockist. But I said, it's more convenient for me paying through PayPal. And they worked it out, and they said, yeah, okay, we'll do it. And they arranged for it to be paid for by PayPal. But then something went really weird because they'd asked me to email like a private email address to do it. So what I assumed is someone from the company. It was like one of the managers, but they was going to just do it under the table, like, you know what I mean, cash thing, like, and pinch the games basically off themselves. And I emailed them, and then it just got really weird, man. And I couldn't. There was a lot of confusion going on, and in the end, I backed out the deal, like. But then they never got back to me about the urban constructors, which is a bit of a shame. But yeah, I ended up getting 7 of them. I think I paid like £2.50 each for them. But yeah, then I sold them.
Dirty cheap Italian copies.
Yeah, well, the Italian one now goes for about £100, I think.
Yeah, I think I spent. I think I got that off of Hydrox as well. I think I got 2 or 3 games of him, if I remember.
You got Wacky Zoo.
Wacky Zoo,
yours
yeah,
was an Italian. Yeah, yours was an Italian. You got Monster
Urban
Eggs, and
Constructor,
I think Urban Constructor as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I remember at the time when we were having our little argument, I said, well, you bloody well overpaid.
Yeah, you got in the mood.
Do you remember?
Yeah, for Wacky Zoo. I was like, I don't care, got Monster Eggs. You were like, well, you have paid, don't care, got Monster Eggs. Oh, I was so happy to get that game. That was one game I thought was going to pass me by. And then what happened later, I can't remember. So you got your copy on eBay. You already had your copy.
Yeah, that was about 4 or 5 months after you got yours, I think.
Yeah, but about, was it 2 or 3 years later, they started appearing on eBay from an Italian seller. We all messaged him, didn't we, saying, how many have you got? I'd like to buy the lot. He wouldn't tell us.
Well, but he was always popping them up, and they're going anywhere between 100 to 150.
He's screwed up big time, basically, because he started off low and then started getting higher, whereas he should have started off high and gone lower, because, we all know the amount of people that was after it. There was people willing to pay 500 quid to 1,000 quid for it. I mean, even you, Ben, you offered me 1,000 quid for it.
Yeah.
Because it was at the time, it was rarer than it was bumming off Rule of Rose, and we were all talking about Phoenix games and the actual rare games, which were actually properly rare.
But and
I got my UK Rule of Rose from CX of all places.
Indirectly, wasn't it, via someone else?
Well,
how much did they get
indirectly?
How much did they pay CX for it?
If I remember rightly, Tom paid £95 for it.
So they thought it was just, they have a standard Rule of Rose price, didn't they? Didn't matter if it was UK or French, it was just £95. He bought one for £95, and it was which was probably the going rate for the French one.
Yeah, and I said to him, if it turns up and it's UKV, I'll 5 times what you paid for it. So either way, I got it for less than 500, but that's still a deal.
Did you ever bid on eBay? I bid on a few. I bidded up to 600. I think it was 80.
Yeah, I think I was bidding on the same one that you bid on.
Was it? I can't remember if it was sealed.
It went to I got out around 750 quid. I got outbid in the last
I was still bidding for it. I was going up and up and up, and then it just ended. And it ended at £200 more than my last bid.
Yeah, my last bid was 750 quid, and I just couldn't do any more than that at that time.
It's a game I've never bid on. I've never wanted it.
But it was the completionist thing, like at the time.
Yeah.
I wanted every UK.
To be honest,
PS2 game. And it's such a good challenge.
Is one of the sets I do want to complete. So eventually, I probably will have to get it. But to be honest, I'd be happy with a French version or Italian version or even a USA version.
Japanese version.
Or a Japanese version.
Yeah.
That's probably the easiest one to get.
it's not.
Yeah.
I mean,
Even the
obviously,
Japanese version's quite
you
expensive
two
now.
were completionists. I wasn't. I just wanted to get the really weird, crazy games. That is one of them, but because of the price of it, it was like, I wasn't really that bothered about it.
Yeah, but back then the French and the other versions were like really cheap.
Yeah,
They're
they
like,
were about
you know,
50 quid, yeah.
50, 60 quid now. Even them, they're like over £200 each now.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
But it's just like people just, they create that false market because realistically, it's only the English version that is worth anything.
And it was.
I mean, it still got released in France. It still got released in Italy.
It's the banned thing. It was never banned. So people think Rule of Rose was banned from the UK.
No, it
was discussion. It got dropped in a discussion in Parliament where they said there's games like this, and it was part of like loads of games, and the UK just decided not to sell it. It was never banned.
But yeah, in fact, the thing is, because obviously people, the story behind it obviously is that the girl you're playing in the game is supposed to be like 13 or 14 or something like that. And there's quite a few sexual references in the game.
So unlike Japan to do that.
Which is why, it's just typical Japan stuff, yeah. But that's obviously why people say it was banned, but it wasn't. But the thing is, about 3 or 4 years ago now, I was searching and I've got the picture saved somewhere, but for all the things I've saved while randomly searching the internet, there's just like 10 million pictures that are unsorted that I've got to go through, you know what I mean? And every year, another 10 million pictures goes in that folder, and you know what I mean? It's just never ending. But in there, I've got an advert saved. It was from either HMV or Music Junction or something like that. And it's an advert that they put on their website, and it says it's an official, like, poster sort of advert. And it says the girl in the game is 18. There's some quote about her, and it's like she returns to her childhood school when she turns 18 or something. There's some reference to it. So it's
And her name was Jennifer, I think.
She was never actually advertised as being 13 or 14. That's just something that people have created. You know, I mean, maybe in the original Japanese game she is, but when it was released over here, that was never the idea behind it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's just like something that people invested.
I remember it coming out, or not coming out, and people listing on eBay for £300 sealed. And I remember the normal version, full UK, was like £80 or £90. And I saw the £80 and £90 one, and I was collecting PS2 at the time. I was going for a full collection. I thought, I won't pay that much, not for a UK. And then I remember seeing this. That was just on eBay, and that must have been 2010, 2011, 2012. It was before I joined PlayStation Collecting, because that sparked my interest, because then I couldn't find it. I was like, fuck, where's it? It's not there, and it's not anywhere. There's no listings for it. And then about 2 months later, a listing came up for a sealed Rule of Rose for £300. And I don't know if I can't remember if it sold, but I kept umming and ahhing. I was like, oh. And at the same time, there was another game on the Nintendo DS that's called Inazuma 11. It's a football RPG game. And for some reason, Nintendo cancelled the UK allotment of it. They said, we're not going to release it in the UK yet. And I managed to get a copy, and I had to pay £40 for it, for a sealed Inazuma 11. And I was like, oh, it's quite cool, actually. And then just before that Rule of Rose thing happened, the UK market they changed their mind, and they flooded the UK market with Inazuma 11s, and the price dropped loads. And so I was a bit like, oh, well, we're probably just going to get loads of Rule of Roses in the end. It never happened. I wish I'd paid £300 or £80 for a UK one.
Yeah, but then
you don't know, do you?
It's one of those things, is it?
But that's what starts my interest, because I was like, God, that must be the rarest game there must be for the PlayStation 2. And they were still producing games as well into the PlayStation's life cycle. And then I joined groups, joined forums, and that's when I started finding about actual rare games. People saying that there's these Phoenix games. There's not a lot of them have been made, and that led me into PlayStation Collecting, which I ended up running in the end.
You did
quite poorly.
Indeed.
PlayStation Age passed it over to me. I kept it going for a while, but forums just got boring in the end, didn't they? Facebook took over.
Yeah, that was it. It was just like, you know, nobody wanted to go through the hassle of signing up to a forum when Facebook's got just random groups that you just click follow and join, and everything is that people talking is where the activity is. I mean, PlayStation Collecting had like the best information out there for PS1 and 2 games, but it had like 20 users, well, 20 active users.
Yeah.
It was like,
The only reason it kept going is it was tagged to Nintendo Age, which was one of the biggest retro gaming forums in the world, if not the biggest, along with Atari Age. Although it wasn't part of Atari Age.
But wasn't it weird how, like...
Yeah, Atari Age is owned by a separate person.
Yeah, they were both separate.
The atmosphere was very different, wasn't it, on them? It was like, it was quite friendly at PlayStation Collecting. Everyone was quite eager to help each other. And then you went over to Nintendo Age and everyone just wanted to murder each other. It was like, you asked a question, you was told you were stupid for not knowing the answer.
So one of the reasons I really wanted this podcast, and what's cool that we're doing about everything, was I was a global administrator. So I was I was the only ones who could join the mod group of Nintendo Age. So I got to see everything which happened, like when that guy had that case of stadium events.
Yeah.
We was talking about that. I saw all the back of the ground things. I saw Dane losing interest, everything.
There was so many. Got his name? It's Summit Atwood. I think it's.
I think so. Yeah, Atwood.
But yeah, I believe actually that is where that guy got all them monster eggs from on eBay.
Really?
Because about 2 or 3 months before, that Atwood dude showed up again and he said, "I need to make $100,000 for my daughter. She needs something. Well, wants something." He says, "I've got the money in the bank. I don't want to touch it." He says, "I can just walk in my factory, pick a few things and sell them, and I can make that money." He said, "So here's a list." And there was just like cases of games on there, like NES games, and Mega Drive, everything. And he put on the list that he'd actually got 5 cases of stadium events. There's 6 games and a case in NES games. So we got 30 copies of stadium events sealed.
And they hated it. It was kind of like, which we never hated. We all had monster eggs, and then like there was like 20 in the world, and then 30 more got found. It was the same thing, wasn't it? There was like 20 stadium events, and
I think he sold one of them for £1.
Well, just to be nice.
Somebody, and he said, "Look, they're the only people I'm getting stadium events, and the people who I know, I'm going to keep them."
Cool.
And he worked out deals with people, and then he disclosed. He says one person has had one for £1, but I've made sure that none of them will ever say which one it was. Like, you know what I mean? Obviously, only one of them knows who it was, but he's going to pretend he paid
the one that got it.
Like, so I thought that was quite good, but they ended up banning him on Nintendo 8.
Yeah, there was a big ruckus over it.
Yeah.
And that's what it was really. I think that's what, in the end, Dane got so pissed off with, because he was a bit like, "What the fuck are you guys doing?" to the moderators and the admins. Like, why are you? This guy's got our whole history he could talk about, and we're being hostile to him.
Yeah.
I don't know if it is that. I'm just guessing, but it was shortly after that. It was like, "Oh, just chuck it in after."
It was because the trouble is with like Nintendo collectors, they're very like selfish. Like I love Nintendo. I'm a NES
Some good
fan,
Nintendo collectors, but they can be quite elitist.
NES console,
Yeah, definitely elitist.
But I will never become a Nintendo collector because they're just so hostile to people.
Elitist,
like,
they are.
You search for a mint game, but then there'll be someone who's got a minter one, and they'll make you know they've got the minter one. You know what I mean?
It's not the Brazilian 1994 copy you've got. Oh, right, you loser. Where the R's backwards on the third row.
And then you've got the people who start getting into sealed, graded games. That's even worse.
I had a friend that actually was into sealed, and then he sold it all last year.
Was that Gemini Phoenix?
But we was talking the one night, and I was telling him about how like cheap sealant machines are becoming. Like you can go on Amazon now and buy a sealer for 30 quid. So you just seal your own games and sell them. Obviously, they got the PlayStation label on if you was trying to fake them, but I'm that cheap now that it ain't going to be long before ones that will print writing on a strip will be 50 quid, you know what I mean? And when
We
that
always
happens,
said that, didn't we? That like
when that happens, sealed collections and going down the drain.
you look at
Do
the
you
game,
remember,
like how hard would it be to just do a really good copy at the time when we were collecting 5-6 years ago? I think you could probably do it now quite well. In 10 years,
Well,
you're definitely going to be able to do it.
the thing is,
Do you remember Monster Eggs that had
around-
an upside down PlayStation 1 seal on it?
Yeah, I've got a couple of PS2 games like that. They am actually official seals. Well,
I know,
as
it's
far
just
as I can, as far
just
as
weird,
I can,
isn't it?
It's just weird. Yeah, I don't know why, but as far as I can,
Maybe they ran out of the PS2 seals and they're like, oh fuck it, we've got these PS1s, just use them.
yeah, I don't know what the history is behind them, but as far as I can tell, they are real. You know what I mean? I've got quite a few. I've got some toy golf games. It's quite an unknown PS2 game. Quite a lot of people don't even know it exists. But I've got a few sealed copies of it, and I've opened one, and it's definitely original. So yeah.
Oh, there was that golf game by Zoo that never got released.
What? Never got. Hang on. This is not Zoo. It got released.
Do you know the one I'm talking about, Paul? You interviewed the guy. You interviewed the guy from
No,
Zoo.
that was Super Bikes, wasn't it?
No, I'm pretty sure it was a golf one.
Toy Golf Extreme. It's backwards.
Which bit's backwards?
Well, it's probably not to you, but I'm showing it to my camera, and the writing's backwards. It's probably
maybe it was.
Oh no, it looks
Super
fine to
Bikes
us.
I'm thinking of,
Sorry,
but it's certainly one of them.
This one, because hardly anyone knows about that. That's the thing. But it's one of those.
I'm gonna get some more coke. Time to do some more coke, boys.
Nobody
Right,
knows
Ben.
about it.
Massive druggy.
It's one of those games like because no one knows about it. It's just cheap as fuck if you find it. I've got about 5 copies of it.
Talking about rare Phoenix games, I just picked one up when I came back in the room.
I completed that the other day.
Yeah, that's quite rare.
I did a full playthrough of it.
There was a couple on one sold for £30 the other day on eBay.
Really?
But it's strange that it's an Australian only. Well, Australian and Italian, but there's not a UKV of it.
Yeah, there's not a UKV been found at all. I've got an Australian and I've got
Italian, probably.
Yeah. But yeah, the Australian version obviously has the UKV flag on it, but then obviously it's got the G printed on the box as well.
It's just a shame it wasn't a sticker. Then you could just peel it off, but it's actually printed on the cover.
Yeah, it's printed on, yeah.
Because some of them that Australia, we exported some games to Australia and they just stuck the stickers over.
Yeah.
The ratings, but that's a.
So which one's the rare
release.
one? The Italian one or the Australian one?
Well,
I want to say the Australian one.
Yeah, I would say the Australian one, but I don't really know because
It's crazy. Look, there's some for sale.
Copy. What's that? $40, €40. Well, 53 euros with postage. That's pretty freaking good. What was that buying now?
Yeah, buy it now.
That's good. Probably someone who don't really know what they've got.
There's one for 20 in GBP, £30. Buy it now, and it's the Australian copy.
That's pretty good.
It's from Australia. It's actually for sale for just $15 dollars. The rest of it is postage.
That's very good. Is it complete with the manual and everything?
Very good price. I think my first copy, I think I paid about 100 quid for it off Crash.
I think I paid around about 60 or 70 quid for my Hoppy.
What's
No
that?
manual, sorry, for that £30 one. No manual.
Ah, right.
But if you're in
Yeah.
Australia, for £15, $15,
It's
buy that.
probably the same one that's been for sale
Is it the
since
one
I got
that I
mine.
sold? Didn't mine have no manual?
I don't
It's
know,
just been
but
passed
there
around.
was certainly one in Australia that has been on, eBay forever that had no manual. It's just not sold.
I mean,
Probably.
what is rare? I mean, if you go rare to me is you go onto eBay and you can't find it most of the time.
Saint and Sinner.
There's three Australian ones and 3 Italian ones at the moment.
But what a Saint and Sinner is probably the rarest.
That was hard to find. I can't remember half of the way.
I can't actually remember where I got my copy from.
Where did I get mine from?
So I have all these games
Oh,
still
right.
in my eBay
Where I got it
alerts,
from. Can't remember how much I paid for it.
and I've never seen Saint and Sinner come up again in an
I think
eBay alert.
I paid over 100 for mine.
I think I might have paid around £100 for mine. But I can't even remember
It was
where I
around
got
about
it from.
100 to 120. I think mine popped up off eBay eventually.
I can't remember at all. I don't think I got mine from eBay. I don't think I bid on it or anything.
Would you believe it? There's loads up for sale.
What, Saint and Sinners?
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Wow.
All for between £100 and £150. But I remember I couldn't find. I guess during the time, no one was selling them, were they? Because no one knew they were rare, so you didn't have. Now people know they're rare; they're selling them.
I think
I remember searching for them.
Little bloody blah off PSCG. I mean, they're probably all owned by him. He just went round buying every single Phoenix games he could find and pretending that.
Ben Bisley.
Yeah, Bisley. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
it. I mean, in one respect, I can say fair play to him. He was making money and he did a good job. He made a lot of money. But on the other respect,
I sold a fair bit to him.
Destroyed the market and ruined a frigging Facebook group because no one. I mean, his latest fiasco, what I saw on there, with him deleting posts and getting the deals before anyone else can get it, clicking on that. He's just turned that. I mean, that page was always on the borderline of like, this is a farce, but he's turned it into a farce basically. And that's it. He sat there with about 3 million Phoenix games, and he pretends I'm all there, and he sells one here and there and rips everybody off. And it's just like, that's why I got locked in. Well, that's why. Well, I mean, you kicked me off the page, posting the freaking video on there, but
What did you post?
I refused to join back for about 2 years now, but now I'm joined back. I don't really post anything in there because I just.
Are you on PSG as well?
What's that?
You on PSCG?
Oh, I am on there again now, yeah.
Oh, right.
I'm not.
Oh yeah.
I left.
Well, I was begged to come back, so I come back, and then
Did Michael do that begging video for you eventually?
I knew he wouldn't, but yeah. I mean the page is just it ain't run right. That was the one.
I remember we had like 500 members.
Like, I want you to put a backlink on your website to the Facebook group, and then you can post stuff on there. And I was like, dude, that's like a web advertising thing that like worked for like 10 years. If you put backlinks on your website to other pages, Google like deduct points from you now, and you come lower in the search for it, and that was what it's asking me to do. It's like 10 years ago that was like a really good way of getting high in the search results, and now it's like you're penalised for it. But he was like, obviously he probably learned something about web developing at school or something 10 years before and thought that was the way forward. And I was trying to explain to him that ain't what you'd want to do, and he was taking it to offence more than taking the advice. You know what I mean? It's just like we sort of became not enemies, but like we never really got on. Well, I wouldn't say
he wanted to try and commercialise PSCG.
I don't know if you could, like, Facebook
he
groups which you
wanted
can
to
make some money from. Like, you need to get like 1 million, 2 million fans group.
Yeah. Well, the trouble
he's
is
down at 2,000.
the people who run it and like their own worst enemies, because nobody joins the page because of how it's run. Like that group should have at least 10,000 members in it now.
Yeah.
Should
Like
do. Yeah.
2,000. I mean, when I joined it, it had like 50 members, and it took like 4 years to get 500 members. It's because all the things they wouldn't let people do on there. It's like, you know.
Oh, at least now I do love. I'll have to say first, I do love PSCG. I do hate it as well, but I do love it. It was one of the best PlayStation Facebook groups. It grew up really bigly.
Well, yeah, for PlayStation.
And we helped it. We plugged it, didn't we, on
was the
PlayStation
best one.
Collecting? But the bits of it do my head in. Like, you were allowed to ask for offers on games, but then you weren't. And then they had a vote. So they said, right, we'll decide it for once. Vote. Are you allowed to ask for offers, or do you have to state a price? Everyone voted, and we all voted saying, look, you can ask for offers. They went, okay, we're going to ignore you, and you have to state a price. And everyone was a bit like, what? Why did you ask us to vote?
Yeah.
We'll vote for that, and you just ignored us in the end?
The trouble is, I mean, they've got their own little dreams. It's what most people do when they first get into collecting, and they start thinking, oh, you know, I can do this and do that, and, you know, make a change, make the world a different place. By, you know, there's so many people, like in the group I run on Facebook, we have got like 10,000 members, and every now and again there's a surge of new people come in. And after about 3 or 4 weeks, when they feel that they've understood the market, they start like cutting pieces out of magazines and putting them in picture frames and going, oh, you want to buy these artwork, like old retro artwork, £10 a piece? It's like, no one's buying a magazine print in a picture frame for £10, you know. And that's the same thing as PSCG. It's like they've got these wild ideas that could never work, but they try and enforce them, and it doesn't work.
I never got my mug though from Michael. Never did get my mug. He had these PSCG mugs made up.
Yeah, I remember them.
I was supposed to get one. I never did.
Were we admins at the same time, or were you admin after me?
I was
before me.
Admin after you got booted.
Yeah, I didn't even know I was getting booted. Like there was me, Michael's wife, and I think it was Lee Hancock's. Or it might have been someone else. And I've got a lot of respect for Lee Hancock's.
John, probably.
It might be John.
John and Lee have both left now.
But there was about 8 or 10 admins, and like we were the only ones doing anything. And one day I just got a message from Michael saying, we've decided to take the group in a different direction. We've got all these new admins joining. And you didn't contribute lots. I was like, what? I like Michael. Michael's the sound guy. I was like, if there's one thing I did do, I definitely contributed more than you did. I was probably third. And they were dealing with shit every day. To be fair to him, he said, look, if it's I didn't realise you were really upset with it, which is fair enough. I can't remember if he said, do you want to come back as an admin? Or if he just left and let me not be an admin anymore. But that was it. Did I come back? No, I've come back. It's weird. We all run our own groups, don't we? We're all admins of different groups. And
I'm still an admin of PSA.
Am I an admin there?
You should be.
We both are, aren't we?
Yeah.
Sometimes you accept people. Once every 6 months, we get an application we have to approve.
So we keep floating around 10,000 members, but the sales have been quite quiet, to be honest, over the past couple of years. So I'm just thinking, in general, everything. It got to a point where everybody knew how to access cheap games, and it sort of. And, well, CX was the main thing. I mean, that completely destroyed me as selling stuff. I mean, I had to go back to real work for about 12 months. But,
yeah, because that's so instant, isn't it? You have to take pictures. You just walk in. If you're willing to sell your games at a low price, you can just go to CX.
Well, the thing is with CX, when they started, they were actually trading in stuff for more than what I could sell stuff for. And they're still doing a lot of stuff now. It's like a NES console. I used to buy them at like 10 to 20 quid and sell them at 40. Well, CX will give you 40 quid trading. and then they sell them at 90 at the minute, I think it is. Like,
And then you could sell the voucher at one point. I don't know if you still can. And people like paying up to 75% of the voucher value.
We always used to, didn't we? Yeah.
well, you see, I never
It was
agreed.
80%. I thought there was the general.
I used to say to people, whatever
75.
whatever percent you want, you say you want, because the thing is, what most people don't realise is 75 or even 80% of the voucher is less than taking cash price from CEX.
It depends on the item. Some it was less, some it was actually more. It all depended on the actual item in question.
Yeah, but on a general, it ain't worth going for the hassle of trying to sell your voucher online for 75% of its value. You might as well have just for the hassle.
It was a big thing, wasn't it?
It was
Always
good
used to
for
see.
buyers because it meant you got like 75%. You know,
Oh
you
yeah.
got 25. You got like 15% off the price, didn't you, or whatever it was?
But then I suppose
25%.
you're roundabouts, because then you walk into CX and you're happy you're getting 25% off, but you're paying 40% more.
Well, that's true.
You still go to CX. I still went like the odd time going to CX and just have a little scan through the
I've
PS2
not been
games.
for a while.
See what I can see.
I mean, how many PS2 games you still got, Paul?
They can still
Probably
be.
still got about I've got 50 a unit on the shelf. Plus some squashed in beneath, so 100, 200, 300, 400, 600, 800, 900. Probably about 1,500. But
No,
still,
I've probably
a lot
got-
of the good ones have gone now.
Yeah, I've
What
got
do you
rid of
do
a lot
with
of my good ones.
60 copies of FIFA?
That's
I
very
know
rare.
there's rare games in there, like NBA 2K12. That was a really hard
Yep.
game to get. There's random games. There's games I haven't even thought of, which are probably
Yeah,
still rare in
some
there.
of the you know, the winter games
Yes, yeah.
and that lot they're
Yeah.
by
RTL.
RTL. Yeah, I've got a lot of those in pure UKVs, and they were super hard to get.
See, they're the ones in 10 years or 20 years' time, which will be worth silly money. Because if you look at the NES market, like it's the Hong Kong games, like they go for 20, 30,000 pounds.
In fact,
That
let
only
me
came
have
out
a look
there.
at one of them if I can find it.
Two-
Retro Collect always had like it didn't have UKV flag. It was like German exclusive. I'm like, it fucking isn't, you know, because I found it. Here's the proof. It's not just a UK. It's not just a German exclusive.
I still think, and it sounds crazy, doesn't it? Like 7 years ago, we're still too early into the PS2 life cycle to find out what the rarest game will be in the end.
I mean,
What's
like,
the rarest
do
SNES
we
game?
even know? Do we even know now what the rarest?
I think the
PS2 game
difficulty is when you had distribution for SNES and NES, it was quite like central, like it was Europe, UK, multi-language, US.
Well,
Whereas
with them
for the PS2, you could have like Polish
NES, you
exclusive.
had like PAL
we had-
A and PAL B, didn't you? You had
Yeah,
two different
and
PAL regions.
We've got bloody African NES SingStar, which was only released in Africa. So if you've got that, we've got what's it? Zing Zang Rugby, which was only released in New Zealand.
Yeah, I don't have that one, but I didn't go that far into the rabbit hole. You know,
That's the thing. You could keep going and going forever, couldn't you?
Yeah.
It's when you look on.
that was
Start looking on sites like Amazon, and you go on each individual Amazon and type in PS2, and you realise that, well, there's a lot more exclusive regional games that you even realise. Like, there's that one, there's a quiz game in France or Italy. What is it?
I think I know the one he's talking about.
I think you've got it.
Yeah, I probably do.
Like Le Deux or something.
The Phoenix game, or
No,
Le Radiator.
I think it's something like that. It's basically just a French quiz game that like nobody's ever heard of, and you wouldn't even know it exists unless you're looking on Amazon for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like you just find it on Amazon. It's like it looks like the weakest link or something like that. You know what I mean? A game like that. But I haven't got it yet. But like there's just never-ending supplies of it on Amazon France. So it's like, you know what I mean? one of them games that you keep looking and it's like, well, there never seems to be a shortage of it, so I'm not going to buy it yet.
I probably got it under E.
But there's loads, and there's that one. Well, here's one actually that does have a UKV, but I can't find any existence of it other than the company released it saying it was released, which was Midas, and I think it's called the Touch of Midas, but in France it's called something else, something de Midas.
Yeah, yeah, I know what you mean. I know that game.
I know the game as well.
Everyone thinks it was only released in France, but I found an article from Midas that talked about its release in the UK. I suppose whether that could have been before it was released or after it was released, but the way the article read is if it was released.
These are the exciting bits, isn't it? Like, and we lived through that. Like, when I got to interview that guy, what was I asking him to see? It was the chairman of Zoo Games, and we wanted to find out if Yamaha Supercross, it's one of the Yamaha games.
Supercross.
Yeah, got a UK release.
You doing that sparked me into trying to find other people to do. And over the years now, I must have spoke to at least 7 or 8 people who've had direct contact with Phoenix Games. And as soon as I mention Phoenix Games, they stop.
They come up. Yeah.
It's weird. I was about to say how nice, like, because I've done stuff for Transformers stuff as well, and how nice people are. Like when you meet them.
The guy who hang on. That was not Phoenix, was it? I was just about to say the guy who done the Transformers patch, but Phoenix didn't do Transformers today. It was Atari. He did Transformers. But they worked with.
There's definitely something funny between Atari and Phoenix going on for sure.
Well, I found out basically what broke up the friendship was that Phoenix owed Atari £30,000.
Because if you remember those, that blue-green, I want to say.
What?
The blue and green 3 box sets.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes.
Remember I did a lot of research into that, and I found out that it was actually Atari that was distributing them. Yeah,
it was Atari that distributed them. They popped 2 games and a shitty game. You know what's weird?
Yeah.
Is, I've seen another one not long ago, a different one.
There was a red, a green, and a blue, but I don't know if there was ever a yellow.
Well, I've seen one not long ago, and I'm pretty damn sure I've got the picture saved somewhere, but it was another box set, and it had 2 games in, which I think one of them was Time Splitters, and then there was Air Raid 3 again, where Air Raid 3 is in one of the other sets, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Well, that's in pretty much all of them.
Well, basically,
one game.
Is Atari own Air Raid, it's their license. And had got a contract to develop Air Raid 3, even though there isn't an Air Raid 2.
Phoenix never cared for the order of games, did they?
I mean, like
Son of Lion King 2.
Yeah,
what about
Lion King 1?
Snow White and the 7 Clever Boys?
Another Lion King game by Midas.
So we had Phoenix, and before I sort of left the collecting scene, I always stayed in it, and we all still meet up once a year. Midas, was that coming up as the next?
Well, technically, Paul Scher came from Midas. That's where he came from.
Yeah, he managed Midas Sports and another part of Midas for 12 months, and then left and started up Phoenix. And a lot of the Midas games, because all of those puzzle games, the Dingo Pictures cartoon games, they were already released by Midas on the PS1. And then Phoenix started up and released exactly the same games on the PS1 and then on the PS2, and got mocked for it. Which is what I always found confusing, because Midas had already released all these games, but nobody paid any attention to that.
Although some of them had a slightly different name, like Animal Football.
Yeah.
But fuck me, if you didn't know anything about, like, if you were into like Vice City and Pro Evolution, your mum got you like Animal Football, and you put it in, and go, all right, I'll give it a go, give it a shot, see what this is about. And it played that dodgy Russian cartoon, and then a match game. You'd be like, the fuck? Hate on that company, wouldn't you? What the fuck are they doing?
Well, it's a shame because of them games. Because I've been doing quite a lot of full playthroughs of Phoenix lately.
Oh, I love Monster Eggs.
But the problem with those animated games, as such, the audio was never in sync with the video.
What's that?
You know, like the animated games that Phoenix did by Dingo Pictures or whatever it was. The audio was never in sync with the video.
Yeah.
On the disc, it was like, and
it
was always like one guy doing all the voices.
Yeah, that was
quite
weird.
Yeah.
It's all right, a guy doing a voice of a man. It's acceptable for a guy to do the female. It's a bit weird when they do the voice of the kids.
I know, right?
And I remember that from the dinosaur ones. The dinosaur.
The one in Animal Soccer, they say shit.
Do they?
Yeah, there's a scene where the one kid does something and he's like, ah, shit. Whoa.
Oh, we got into the best bit of the whole fucking collecting fandom, didn't we?
What I was saying is, from playing through quite a lot of the Phoenix games lately, there is quite a few decent games. Like I've just recently done Iron Chef.
Yes, Iron Chef. I got mine on Amazon, if I remember, for about £50.
Yeah, I've paid about 30 for mine. Well, I think I've got 2 copies of it.
Greedy bastard.
It's a pretty decent game. It's like Burger Time, if you remember that game. You got to knock down the items to make a burger at the bottom. Where in this, I'm just knocking items into a basket. But I had fun playing it. And Hoppy, that was a really good game. And
these are ports, aren't they, of PC games, probably?
Oh, they're all PC games. I've got all the PC versions as well. Cool. I could turn around the camera, but they're all there. But I'll take a picture, it'll be easier. But yeah, there's about 130 PC games, but they were all based.
And then Phoenix also did a couple of DVD games as well, didn't they?
4 DVD games, but there's rumoured to be 2 more. But I can't find any proof that Phoenix actually did them. One's Drug Wars. I can't remember.
Do you remember that Mega Learning 1? Did you ever find a Mega Learning 2?
Nope.
Yes. No. You had both of them, Paul.
Did I?
Yeah, definitely. You had both of them.
Did I sell one? Was one not for the GameCube?
I think you sold them.
I've definitely got one of them.
Sold all the Zelda collection for the CDI. I'm pretty sure you sold Fun and Learning 1. Fun and Learning 2 is the one that we've got. Fun and Learning 1 is the one that no one could find, I think.
No, it must be. I've got it over there. See, I'll go and grab it. 2 seconds.
I'm 99% certain that you had both of them, Paul.
It's possible.
But yeah, if you can see,
yeah,
that's all the Phoenix PC games. Obviously, you probably can't read any of the writing, but that's just how many there is. Some of the compilations as well, so there's like 8 or 10 games on a disc.
See, if you were on this meeting app on your phone, you could have just spun your camera around and.
Yeah, I know, but it's because I'm on the. Well, I've got a laptop, but it's positioned at the minute, so I call just like.
Volume 1. There's Volume 2. I think I never found.
Which one mine is?
So this is a third-party PlayStation 2. Well, it probably work in anything. But it was build for the PlayStation 2. Fun and Learning.
But I'm pretty damn sure you had Volume 2 as well.
Volume 2 you could find for the GameCube. I'm sure I could never find it for.
No, I'm sure.
PS2.
Or it might have been you, Ben, but I'm pretty sure it was you, Paul. I'm pretty sure you had number 2, because it's blue. The cover.
Yeah, I didn't have it, so it must have been Paul.
I'm pretty sure it was you then, Paul. I'm pretty sure. I know someone definitely found the other one, and I'm pretty sure.
I'm sure I found the GameCube one and I sold it.
Maybe it was
That could have been it.
Because
No, I'm sure you found I'm sure you found the PS2.
see, if we had the if PlayStation Collecting was still up and running, we would just type into the search "fun and learning" and
Yeah.
come up with all the threads.
The thing is about that disc though, it's actually a PS1 game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, no, you've got a PS2 version.
It's silver.
Yeah. That's weird. Let me go get
PS1 games are all black. And then PS2 CD games are blue.
Oh, it
And
says for
obviously DVD
PlayStation
based.
2 and PlayStation 1.
I'm sure mine's black.
This for PS2 and PS1.
Oh, no. Mine's the same. Maybe it's just because I've got this one as well. Feeding Frenzy.
What? I love that game. That's awesome. Have you played it?
I played it on PC like many years ago.
Because.
I've never seen that before though.
But yeah, there's a guy. I don't know if you've heard of Larry Bundy Jr.
Yeah, I love him.
Yeah.
I remember I used to watch him on TV.
Yeah, well, because he was on a Game World or something like that.
Yeah, and something weird after that.
Yeah, I follow him on Twitter, and basically he used to do a lot of this artwork for Blaze.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've still got to confirm. I don't know if he's done this one, but quite a lot of the action replay stuff. Quite a lot of the cartoon drawings on that were designed by Larry Bundy.
Huh.
Quite interesting.
Hello, you.
That's it.
Yeah. I love sitting down to his videos. Wait till I go to bed. Just about to go to sleep. Stick one of those bad boys on with the wife. Sound asleep.
But then you've got you had the PS4 limited run games. What a scam that turned out to be.
Well, I knew from the start it was never going to be. You know what I mean? To be honest, when they first started off, I was like looking for something new to collect. Like, and as you know, I like collecting publishers, like we all do.
Yeah.
And I found out about limited run, so I emailed them and I said, "Oh, can you let me know what your plans are? Because I like collecting publishers." And they put a thing on the questions, and it said, "If you want your game signed, let us know, and we'll sign it when we send it out." Only signed by the limited run team, so I like the developer or nothing, but like just it's as if they were catering for collectionists. So I was like, "Sound." So I emailed them and said, I only collect by publishers, so I'd like to keep up to date with everything you do, and I'm gonna make my first order. Can you sign it? And they never fucking signed it. For nothing again.
Do you think limited run games have probably overshot themselves by doing so fucking many limited run games? Like the Star Wars games, I can imagine in 10 years being worth loads. But if you've done 1,000 releases of each release, but then you've done 10,000 different games.
Because you can just go on the PlayStation Store and buy the game.
Well, the thing is, Octodad is the perfect example. That is one game that caught my attention, and I thought, it's probably going to be crap, but I wouldn't mind owning that. And then I looked on the PlayStation Store and realised it was $1.99.
Yeah, exactly. Or some of them were like £7, and yet you could, if you're buying the disc, it was like 30, 40, 50 quid.
Realistically, these games are limited in run because there ain't enough people out there that want them.
Mm.
And this is where they've captured that market of people who
completionist market as well.
So little of them, they've got to get them. But the thing is,
the problem with PS4 games is there's no manual. There's not really that incentive to buy the physical copy.
But the thing is,
you don't get a manual, you don't really get anything apart from a disc and a cover.
Yeah, limited run with what's that one? That Retro City Rampage. They've got a second run of it. And the thing is, it's just them.
Was that them? Was that limited run games?
Yeah.
Retro City Rampage.
Yeah.
Retro City Rampage DX, if we give it its proper title.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only game for the PSP.
You get it for everything, yeah. Well, they did a second run.
Yeah, I think you bought both Paul? I think you bought it for PS4 and the Vita. I think you bought both copies. Vita, if I remember right.
Yeah, it might have been the Vita one.
There's nothing stopping the developers from going to Super Rare Games or Play Asia and going, release this game for us.
Hmm.
Absolutely nothing.
Just because Limited Run released 5,000 copies, it don't mean that's the only 5,000 copies that are never going to exist.
Yeah.
It just means
Exactly.
that
Like you could sign a deal with Sony tomorrow, for example, Earl, and just go print as many as you want.
No, but limited run games were going to be valuable when they had like 20 or 30 of them. And now there's we're up to 100, 200.
Oh yeah. Well,
Like
they're making money. That's the thing. They got to make money. I'm a business, basically.
Oh yeah, no, I get that, but they seem to be like at the start. It's like, well, they're going to be fairly rare games.
But nah, they're just pumping out anything they can, anything they can get for cheap enough, and I'm cashing in on the people out there that think in 10, 20 years I'm going to be millionaires from selling games. That's what I'm cashing in on. And it's
do you think PS3's become collectible now?
Not at the minute.
Or has it still got a way to go?
I don't think anyone will pay any attention to it for quite a few years yet. I think there'll be more of a resurrection with PS2 games before there's a PS3 collector's market out there.
I know there's a couple of rare games on PS3. One of them's called Africa.
Yeah.
Is it a National Geographic one?
I can't remember, but it's.
Can you sing me the theme song to it? What does the theme song sound like? Sing it.
I don't know.
Just do it.
But look up Africa on PS3. Look up, Paul. You'll see what I mean.
I never really kept. I knew there's.
The problem with PS3 stuff is that even the really bad games look really good, and I think that takes away a lot of that terrible value factor that a game can have. Like Phoenix games, Midas games, 505 games, they can all look cheesy as hell and be crap. Because they're cheesy, it'll make them fun. Whereas PS3 games, they all look awesome. So if they're crap, they're just crap games. It's like there's nothing to laugh at. You know what I mean? There's nothing to enjoy. It's just a crap game. And I think that's where the PS3 lost a lot of that magic. But I don't know. Obviously, there's rare games on the PS3, but
what about the Indian releases?
Oh, there's
they came out on the PSP and the PS3 as well as the PS2.
Yep.
Yeah.
And do you remember the Shadow of the Colossus Indian exclusive?
Oh yes.
That was the only way of getting the UK V of it, I think.
Wasn't it in just a standard case, that one?
Yeah. But it had like a yellow dot on it. And that's how you knew it was the UK copy. Because otherwise it was only in French, I want to say.
I've got like the digipack version of that, I think.
Yes, that was it. You could get it in English if you wanted it in digipack, but the only way to get it in standard case was get the Indian version.
How's your drink game, Ben? What are you up to now?
Well, we're not quite into the bottle yet, but you know.
From the bottle, Ben, you got straight from the bottle.
You're a madman.
Right, I might get to bed soon, so I might say goodnight.
What time is it? Company's 11:30. It's been 2 hours.
It's been 2 hours. Cool.
Time flies.
Right.
But it was nearly 10 o'clock by the time we got it started in the end. But
yeah, I suppose.
What should I do with the recording? Or should I stop the recording first?
We got to do an intro, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, follow us on our... Yeah. See you later, mate. Bye, guys.